Hey guys! So recently on TikTok, I've been seeing a lot about people talking about delusion. Specifically about delusion about their crushes. But let me tell you, I've been down that road. Sometimes delusion is just delusion. I'm sorry. That's true. Delusion is just delusion. And I'm gonna tell you why, because I've experienced it already. So a good amount of years ago now, I myself was very delusional. Wow. I was a delusional girly, you know? It happens to the best of us. And I was seeing on TikTok, there's a lot of videos about dumb things they would do for the crush. And I was like, that just sparked a memory, but I want to share it with you guys because it's funny and maybe you can learn from my delusion and flaws. So there was this guy and I barely knew anything about him, if I'm gonna be honest. He was a friend of my friend and even my friend wasn't even that close with him. I watched all these little teen movies and I was like, oh my gosh, I need that. So I was like, who am I gonna choose to be my special someone? I just chose someone random. I was like, okay. So I ended up choosing this one guy. So then I was like, boom. And then that's where it all started. So yeah, so throughout the years, it was a good, how many years? So it was a good like 4 years that I liked him. So basically this guy, I talked to him like 4 times. Literally like 4 times. And I was convinced. So embarrassing. Now I look back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh. Delusion! And to make matters worse, when I was at the height, the tip of like my crush for him, I decided to tell my friend. Little do I know. So yeah, so I've already been feeding my own delusion. My friend, she's too supporting. She went straight to the,
you guys would be so cute. I love this word.
and that's where it all went wrong. So that further fed into the delusion. So then I saw this video, like this TikTok video from the delusional TikToks that people have been making. I just thought, oh my gosh. So this is the TikTok video in question.
I think, maybe unpopular opinion, but it is important to have one friend who's just as delusional as you are, so that they can enable you. Obviously, you want your other friends to be rational, but you gotta have one.
That video explains us, basically. She was the friend that fed into my delusion. And honestly, love her for that. It made life way more interesting. But it really was a bad thing. She fed my delusion so much. Instead, I needed her to be like, look, chill out. She could have knocked some sense into me, you know? So I would tell her every little encounter I had with him, and I would be like squealing about it with her. And essentially, we were the blind leading the blind. And then I saw this TikTok, and I was like, this is literally us. This is the TikTok. It just went on and I would just tell her about occurrences that I would have with him. Like I would see him in the halls or he would view my story. Just really minor things. So I was convinced that this guy had to like me somehow. And mind you, oh, here comes a big plot twist. This entire time, he was dating someone and I was still delusional. Now, I want to make it clear. Currently, I am not a homewrecker. Was I in the past? I hadn't even held hands with a man, so I don't even think I knew what a homewrecker was. So back then, maybe I was. But now I know what it actually is, and I know I'm not, okay? Okay, I would never do that. Just back then, I was delusional, and I didn't think about it really. I give myself the pass, you know? You gotta be patient with your past, and you gotta forgive your past self, you know? Back to the story. Oh yeah, so he did in fact have a girlfriend those entire 4 years that I liked him. My personality became non-existent, so I was so delusional that he liked me. I was like, I'm going to do what I can to get him to notice me because I know he likes me. I know it. So anything that he would say he'd liked or I found out that he'd liked, I would do it. I hope he doesn't see this video. Don't click on this video. Yeah, so I was seeing on TikTok, this is what a lot of people are doing. And honestly, it feels really comforting. I'm really happy about it. I feel really comforted because personally for me, I thought I was the only crazy one. I thought I was alone in it, but it turns out that I wasn't. There was actually other people that were as delusional as me. Yeah, so there's this one girl, this one.
Mr. 305, Mr. Worldwide, darling. Do a photo. Can you make it clap? Can you make that ass clap, darling?
Oh my
Mr.
gosh. So yeah, so she pretended to be Pitbull for him. I was like, oh my gosh. If you're pretending to be Pitbull, me pretending to have his interests is not as bad. So thank you for that. And then there was this other girl. The dancing. That one was bad. But yeah, that made me feel comforted too. I was like, okay, I wasn't weird enough to like dance for him and learn a whole new version of dancing for him. Like, basically, delusion has gotten to all of us. I really can't be mad at myself. And if you had delusion when you were younger too, you can't be mad at yourself either. So then I found this girl, and the video she posted is this one.
Eyes blue like the Atlantic and I'm going down like the Titanic. Eyes blue like the Atlantic and
Okay, that one really got me. I was like, you know what? Good thing. Like, that's like really bad. The delusional girlies are there for me, you know. Thank you guys. So then I started thinking about the times that I was like this, the times that I did or posted certain stuff that was of his interests, and then I was going deep diving through my Instagram. Yeah, so this is what I posted for him. So this was back then in, what is it, 2018. Ooh, that's a bit ago. But that's when clout classes were a really big thing, right? Clout, I cannot speak. Clout glasses, and he happened to really be into them as well. So one day I was at the water park with my family friend, and he happened to have clout glasses, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is my chance. So I put on the clout glasses and I was like, can I borrow these? And I decided to make a funny video, and this is the video that I made. Beautiful. So I took that video. I remember specifically posting it. I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna see this and he's gonna be like, I love her, like, she's so cool. So I posted that and I was like, oh, like, I loved it, you know. I was just like, yes. And so many people were liking it and everything, and I was like, they think I'm so funny, and he probably thinks I'm so funny. The only reason I don't delete it is because I was thinking, like, it's good memories. Like, at this point, it's good memories. So that's interesting that I really thought that was gonna get his attention and that was gonna make him want to date me. But so another post that I posted specifically for him was this. So it's a meme, basically. So the meme says, "It be like that." And then the picture is some guy reading a book saying people that have a crush on me, and then they're reading it and it's like, it's my past. We must get through our past in order to grow. Another post that I posted specifically for him was this one here. So this is our school bus. So he would always take the school bus home, and he also really liked Halloween and like creepy stuff. I don't even know if he liked Halloween. I literally assumed, I didn't know, this is how much I knew about him. I didn't know anything about him, basically. It happened to be decorated for Halloween, and I remember being like, oh, he would love this. So I literally like posted it on my spam again. The spam is where everything went down. Yeah, I posted on my spam again, and I was like, oh, I forgot about this. The school bus is in the Halloween spirit. And I just remember thinking he'd be like, oh my gosh, that's the school bus I take. Yeah. Everyone else takes them too. And to make matters even worse, so this is a longer story. Basically, during the time that I did like him, I started to progressively get more scary and stalkery. I'm just kidding. I just started to progressively get more like trying to interact with him more. I was trying to put myself out there, really. Usually I'm pretty introverted, especially like when I was younger, I was really introverted. So basically when I would try to push myself out of like my comfort zone and my boundaries and everything, I would just randomly I would go on Instagram and message random people or like answer to like little story polls. Cause at that time it was like, I remember this so vividly, but he posted on his story like, okay, I don't remember it that vividly because I can't remember it, but he posted something along the lines of like, I think it was just like, ask me a question, because it was like the new Instagram question things. So I was like, this is my chance. So I took it. I was feeling bold. So I remember now. Okay, I was feeling bold because for some reason I thought, since the polls were like brand new, the question polls on Instagram, I didn't really know about them. So I thought that it would be anonymous. So I did that. Little did I know. And the question I decided to ask was, do you like dogs? Such a stupid question. But like, I remember at the time I was like, oh my gosh, if the guy I like doesn't like dogs, that's like a deal breaker for me because I love dogs. Then I get a DM and it turns out to be from him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why is he texting me? Oh my gosh, like it's happening. Basically, I realized that he knew it was me. And I was like, oh my gosh. I freaked out. So then I decided to start posting my story about dogs so that he could see that I'm such a dog person. And like, he can be like, wow, I love that she loves dogs because I love dogs too. I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, so I had this post, me with my dog. And then I had this one, another little, I was like, this is so funny. I'll post this. And I was like, oh my gosh, he would love this too. He's gonna relate. I was like, oh yes, this one too. Yes, I love this. Anyway, so basically, well, it's getting really dark now. Dogs became my personality for a little bit because he liked dogs, and I was like, oh my gosh. You know, just like the TikTok say. He said he liked dogs, so all of a sudden I was posting a bunch about dog stuff. So yeah, so all this went on for like 4 years until finally I was like, you know what? I'm gonna tell him. Mind you, we still had spoken like 3 times. Literally like 3 times. And then my friend who was friends with him wasn't even friends with him anymore. So we really had no connections, but I was still trying to make those connections. I remember I didn't have a lot of classes with him, and then finally I got a class with him, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I started seeing him more, and I was like, wow, this is like my sign. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna tell him how I feel. So what I did is, as soon as that class ended, it was like at the end of the day. It was the last class before the day ended. So I was like, I'm gonna catch him before he gets his bus. The class ended, and I literally stalked him outside. Like, I was picking up my books, like watching him, making sure that he goes out before me so I can trail behind him. I'm so sorry. If you're seeing this, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I followed him out, and I was doing it like, so this was him, and I was like here, so I was like, he would move, and I was like right behind him. He probably knew, like, he was probably like, why is this girl, like, you know. So finally I caught him somewhere where there wasn't too many people. There was still like a good amount of people, don't get me wrong, but there wasn't as many as like there was in the class. So I was like, hey, whatever. So then I tap him on the shoulder, I'm like, oh hey. It's super awkward because we've talked 3 times. So he was like, oh hey, and I was like, hey, and then his friend happened to be there too, and he was like, hey, and I was like, oh hey. Anyway, so then I turned back to him, and I was like literally so awkward. Like, I don't know like why I decided to make it so awkward, but I was like, I just wanted to let you know about something. Like, I just wanted to tell you something. And he was like, oh, okay, like, what? It was super sweet though, but I was like, oh, I just want to say, like, I like you. The bane of my existence. So I told him that, and he was like, oh. And then instead of like discussing it or anything or waiting for a response, I ran away. I said, okay, bye. Yeah, so then I went home, and the entire ride home I was like, oh my gosh, what the freak did I just do? I was just trying to forget it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna forget it. So I just blocked it out of my mind, and I was like, hey, whatever. And then I got home. Let me tell you. And then I checked my phone, and I saw that there's a notification on Snapchat. I had him on Snapchat. But yeah, so I saw his name, and I was like, oh my gosh. But you know what's funny? As scared as I was, part of me was like, oh my gosh, what if he's like... But yeah, so then I open up his text, and I'm like, what is he saying? He is so sweet. He literally was basically saying like he has a girlfriend, but I'm like so nice and sweet and yada yada yada. He'd be fine with just being friends though, because I'm really nice. And I was like honestly, sweetest response ever. Bless him. I have no bad blood against him, obviously. And like the memory is like just funny now because it wasn't even a bad like memory. I remember I was like devastated. I was like, oh my gosh, he doesn't like me back. Like, girl, no duh. You spoke to him 3 times, hello. But you know what? Poor little me was like, what? You know, like, why? Sorry about the darkness, by the way. It's just getting dark now. It was super funny because then I was like, oh, okay. I have to go to school and see him tomorrow. So I had class with him the next day, and I was like, okay, let's do this. And I remember I walked into class and I saw him, and I was like, oh my god, don't make eye contact. I just went straight to my desk, I sat down, and the entire time I was just trying to ignore him. So yeah, so basically the entire rest of the semester, I was like basically ignoring him, and I was like, it will go away, it's whatever. And then luckily the semester ended and we went to winter break, and I was like, thank God. And then after winter break, I was like, oh my gosh, like I was like scared. I was like, I'm gonna be seeing him again, what the hell. The classes switched luckily, so I was like, okay, whatever. But when we were doing like attendance, the teacher was going through everyone's like names, and she called out his name, and I was like, oh no. I was like, I have a class with him. I was like, why? Like, mind you, I never really had classes with him up until like this one that I was in. So I was like, what the heck? I was like, what are the chances? I was like, why? But she called his name and he wasn't there, and I was like, oh, he's not here. I was like, that's kind of weird, like on the first day, but I was like, okay, whatever. I was over the moon. I was so happy, but I was like, oh, you know what? The happiness is gonna end because he'll probably be here tomorrow or next week. Maybe he's just on a trip. So a week goes by and I'm like, huh, he's still not here. I'm like, that's kind of weird. And then I start hearing rumors and stuff, and people are talking about how he moved just so suddenly, and I was like, oh my gosh. Hallelujah. I was literally celebrating. I was celebrating so hard because I was like, ah! You're telling me that like I don't have to even see him anymore? Like, okay? I was so happy, literally so happy. So yeah, so that's like kind of the end of the story. We don't talk at all. And then obviously now I look back at it, I'm like, I can't believe I did that. Oh well. I just basically wanted to tell it because I've been seeing a lot of, you know, people on TikTok, they're encouraging the delusion, and I'm like, whoa, sometimes the delusion is not the solution, guys. Okay, like I said earlier, this is why it is just delusion. So thank you for tuning into this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys in the next video. Thank you for putting up with this. Bye.